Live from Melbourne, Australia, as Ian said. It's coming up to 10 to 6 in the morning, and that's 10 to 16 hours ahead in the future for most of you. So I'm pleased to say welcome to the future and to let you know the future is bright, folks. I'd like to start by thanking Ian, my fellow Brummie, for putting this together today, and how wonderful it is to share the virtual stage again with so many of the Power Voice and Thinking into Results family. A group of people who are doers, who are driven, and who are achievers, and people who really get things done. And in fact, many of the words I'm about to share with you all today are a testament. These people that I'm sharing alongside this stage with are a testament to the words I'm about to share with you. What I'm about to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, is common sense and common knowledge, but it is often not common practice. So I ask that you listen, please, with an open heart and an open mind as I explore how to break down some of these barriers to take you leaps and bounds towards your success. Here we are, 25th of January is here. I know it's 24th for a lot of you, but almost a month done of 2021. And I'm sure a lot of us are glad about that. And a lot more of us are glad to say goodbye to 2020. The year that put up 200, 300, 400 barriers for many of us. And let me tell you, I'm not excluded from that. Oh, no. 2020 was a year full of barriers that were put up and knocked down. In fact, there were more barriers put up for me than I could shake a reasonably sized stick at. It was a roller coaster, a white knuckle ride, there's no doubt about it, but you had to hold on tight because it was well worth the ride. There were lessons to be learned at every twist and every turn, and it was just something you didn't want to blink because you didn't want to miss a second of it. It was an extraordinary year, I found, with extraordinary circumstances and therefore some extraordinary results. And on the subject of circumstances, I wonder, were you someone who let them circumstances and the environment control you, or did you control, in fact, the circumstances and environment? And I know that's an easy thing to say, but a hard thing to do, and we'll explore that a little bit more a little bit later. Barriers. Some barriers are internal, of course, and they're plagued by ourselves and our self-doubt and our self-beliefs, which leads to anxiety and sometimes disintegration, as John pertained to earlier there. But I think an awful lot of these barriers are actually external, and they come from people that we love and trust, our friends, our family, our parents, our teachers, our peers, our loved ones, and some experiences and things that we've been through with them often earlier in our lives. I also think a thing that puts up a lot of those barriers, and I have one right here because we never have one far away these days, is our devices and the media. And I think they have a quite a bit to answer for in 2020, and I think it's good for us to keep a standing step back away from them and just remember that the media, it's not always first. Sorry, it is always first, but what it's not is always honest and true, and it doesn't care who it hurts along the way. One of my favorite actors is Denzel Washington, and he's a man who always creates great films because he doesn't take bad roles, and I think that's a good way of looking at life. If you don't get yourself involved in bad things, then you're not going to end up getting bad results all of the time. Something Denzel says is, if you read the newspaper, then you're misinformed. But if you don't read the newspaper, then you're uninformed. And we can translate that to the TV, our devices, whatever way we're being constantly fed and being almost forced to digest this news from multiple sources, which is often conflicting and confusing. And it's very easy to get just lost and mixed up in the doldrums of it, particularly in a year like 2020, when a lot of us were in downtime and just being fed this stuff all the time. So I advise a great way to start breaking down these barriers is stay away from that news, stay away from that media. Of course, there will be some people who have to consume the media because they need it for their job. Perhaps you work in media yourself, perhaps you work in politics, perhaps you just work in something that connects you with the media. But what I say to that is stick your source, pick your source and stick to your source. Make sure it is true and honest as it can be, and stick with that one source to relinquish some of that confusion. Because it's not always first, it's not always accurate. And I think a great way to remove one of those barriers is to perhaps have a digital detox. Perhaps don't have the phone in the bedroom, have an alarm clock, have your phone outside of the bedroom, have really no electronics in the bedroom if you can, and don't dive into this first thing in the morning. Don't be fed all this multiple sources of news that's often conflicting and confusing, because I don't think it always serves you in the way that you imagine it does. And in fact, it can put up a lot of barriers when you're constantly fed it and you don't know what to believe, you don't know what's true, you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong. And I think it was easy to get swept up in that in 2020, and let's not get swept up in it in 2021. What did you do with 2020? Many of the people I'm surrounded by here today went forth. They dusted off their to-do list. They dusted off the things that they'd been wanting to find and explore for a long time. Some of them ended up learning new things, learning new skill sets, teaching new things, becoming part of new projects, creating, cooking, planting, baking, just creating as a whole at scale and going after the new things that they wanted to try. Really maximizing that downtime. And this is another barrier I want to talk about, maximizing your downtime. We've all perhaps had more downtime in the past 12 to 18 months than we've ever had in the entirety of our lives. And what I think that downtime's brought is quiet time to think, quiet time to reflect, quiet time to look around us and think, who can we count on? Who can we count out? Who's helping us on the way and who is in the way? I think it's good to make a list of those things, make a list of those people. Who can you count on? Who can you count out? A list of those things. Who can you count on? Who can you count out? What are the bad habits that you've picked up that you're no longer doing, that you think, now I'm away from those things, I'm actually a lot better person. I'm actually a lot healthier person. I'm actually a lot clearer minded, and I don't need to be doing those things anymore. And some of the people we used to surround ourselves with, Julie, I love Julie to bits, but she's always watching the news. She's always just telling me what's going on with the news, and I'm almost polluted by the news, and I don't even watch it. Dave's a great guy, but he's always smoking. He's always drinking. I find myself doing that when I'm around him, and I don't really need to do that. It's not something I enjoy doing. So I think it's, as I said earlier, 2020 was an extraordinary year of extraordinary circumstances. And what do extraordinary circumstances give us, folks? Anyone know? Extraordinary results. And some results are positive and some results are negative. It just depends on the factors you put into the input of the output of those results. The light, the dark, the yin, the yang, the good, the bad, the sunshine, the rain. One thing I always like to say when people come up to me and say, oh, isn't it raining today? The weather's terrible. I go, well, yeah, but the bad days make you appreciate the good ones. And I think that's a good way to look at things. The yin, the yang, the light, the dark. There cannot be one to exist without the other. It's just the way it goes. I think last year in its entirety can be wrapped up in a few words from the legend of linguistics, a man of many of us all know who we're sharing this stage with today, Les Brown, who says, life is often a series of God ordained or universe ordained or whatever you believe in, insert that word there, problems, cleverly disguised. Excuse me. Life is a series of God-ordained opportunities, cleverly disguised as problems and challenges. And I think you could replace that word. Was it problems and challenges, or was it problems and barriers? And how are we going to break them down now? Well, look, it's our time to break them down. It's our time to first understand what they are and stay away from them. Are they from our old experiences, our old circumstances, people that we used to hang around with, too much news and media that we used to consume? I was walking down the road here in Melbourne just yesterday. It's a beautiful place to live. It's a place that there's always constant new pieces of art popping up on the walls. And someone had taken the time to write down some beautiful words outside the house on a lovely green wall. And in this lovely white paintbrush, they'd written, kindly find your new normal. Kindly find your new normal. And I just stood there and took stock and really enjoyed reading it and digesting it. And I think a lot of these people that I'm speaking with here today found their new normal. They went after new things. They seized new projects. They seized new challenges. They learned new skill sets. You know, I myself, and I tell you, I don't tell you this to impress you, but to impress upon you. I myself decided many years ago that I wanted to take up speaking, and I never had the chance, the time, or the opportunity to go forth and learn from the masters who I did go forth to learn from, the master Les Brown, as many people did here that I'm speaking with today. And if it wasn't for 2020 and the quietness of it, and a lot of these people that have these things to teach, having quieter lives, not being able to travel, not having such a heavy schedule, then these programs wouldn't have been possible. They would not have been possible, and they would not have been brought to us. So, you know, there's always positives to be taken out of these things. I think now, really, if you haven't already, it's a great time to take some time for you. For you. Take some real quiet downtime outside of the noise, away from the devices. Take some real downtime to realize what those barriers are, to break them down. Because you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, you have powers and possibilities within you that you haven't even discovered yet. You haven't even touched on. You haven't even begun to uncover. You haven't even begun to understand what the barriers are to peel them back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with this. I believe that you are all and can be and become the masters of your own universe, and that you can all become the achievers of your own dreams. I hope my words have left you with some inspiration and some motivation today to carry forth and reveal and pull back some of those barriers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say about that. Thank you very much, Ian, for the opportunity today.